Welcome back to another episode of Upon a Heathen Path, guys. As always, I'm your host Eric.
I'm your host, Stevie.
I know she's been out a couple episodes. She's back new to it. So let's talk about some death. So we all know death. It's the one certainty that no warrior knew that they could outrun, and no king commands it, and no god, even the gods knew they couldn't escape it, or they can't escape it. Again, here I am speaking in like a past tense vocal, but I don't mean to. But in an old Norse world, death wasn't hidden behind hospital curtains like we see today, or softened with polite language, and it's not faced. It's not named. It's never prepared for. It's always just expected, kind of thing. And to die wasn't necessarily, it's not a failure, but it's a fulfillment of fate. And on today's episode, we're going to step into the firelight of the North, into burial mounds, burning ships, quiet halls beneath the earth, and we'll explore where the Norse believed the dead traveled and how the living honored them, how we honor them today, and why reputation mattered more than the breath itself that you would actually expute into the air. And it's not a story about fear, it's a story about meaning, because in a culture that knew life was extremely fragile, they asked a different question. And it wasn't always how do I how do I avoid death, but how do I meet it well? And we're gonna rip it off with would you come together with on this Stevie?
Okay, so I like what you said, death isn't an ending, it's a crossing. So before Christianity, pre-Christianity, dying mattered as much as living. Your fate was controlled obviously by the Norns, and your death was by them. So there was no escaping, but it could be met with honor. How you lived is what shaped where you went. So if you lived or like a warrior, you're obviously going to go to Valhalla.
Right. And we've always said you're
It's
judged
not
by your choices and your fate, not what your fate doesn't decide where you go. Your choices decide where you go, as always.
exactly. So it's not just about how you died. And obviously we should all by now know, the different places you go when you die. So you're either going to go to Valhalla, which is Odin's Hall for warriors. You're either going to go to Folkvanger, which is Freya's realm, or you're going to go to hell. Remember, our hell isn't the Christian hell. That's where people who are dead, they die, and it's not a punishment realm like a lot of people would assume. It's like if you're sick, you have an illness or old age,
It was more of a
and
place
it's
of
got
continuation than it was anything else.
right.
And Norse hell was the destination for those who didn't die in battle, but the sick and the elderly and the children. Like, obviously, we're not going to send the elderly and the children or the sick out to battle. So, like, the distinguishing between Christian hell and Norse hell, it's that part. Like, there's morality and there's gratitude and graciousness in Norse hell than there is Christian hell. It's not a place of punishment, like Stevie said. It's a place of continuation.
Right, and that's where your like ancestors are. So, you can also look at it as like the dead, they remain close, they're tied to land, family, memory. So it's not a bad place like others would assume.
Right. Most people like tied to the realm itself. It's cold and dim and still. Right. And on the Christian hell, it's hot. It's fiery. It's ungodly, unbearable. But that doesn't mean that it's because it's cruel, but because I see it's reflected as absence of life to movement. And, there's no feasting halls, there's no endless combat, there's no continuous seeking of glory for the Einhir or the Folkvinger, in those senses. But it's not because you're there for bad choices that you've made in your life. The Christians would want you to fear.
Right.
Right.
And like that's what I was saying. Like we don't fear death either. Your end of life value, you speak truth before death. You want to be remembered well. You want that legacy too. You know what I mean? Like you don't That's how ours are. Ours is. And like I said, death isn't be feared.
Well, and anyone who's not necessarily, okay, you don't have to be true, but knowledgeable to Norse mythology, you have Erd, who is fate is known to and can't be escaped. That's just what it is. And growing past tense, growing up in that world, the Norse already not assume, they know death it's inevitable and it's accepted. Like, no, they don't want it, but it's an understanding that kind of shaped how old Norse people lived, right? And they never spent their life trying to avoid death. I mean, I'm sure there was some, there's those few selfish people who spent their life preparing for death or preparing it to face death well. They didn't prepare themselves to face death well.
Yeah.
That's the big difference between knowing that you're going to die and fearing that.
Exactly. But modern days end of life, we'll call it EOL. That's short for that. So like death again is you look at it as it's a return to your ancestors honor. You want to live the most authentic way, not just dying violently. And
Right. Yeah, I mean, no one really wants to die violently, but I mean, well, some of our ancestors did want to die violently, but they never they never said it. They never looked at it as dying in a violent way. They always looked at it as dying in an honorable way. Right?
Exactly. I had to put that in there.
No, I get it. But that's the way we look at it now, though. Like, some people see it now. I mean, in modern morality way today, it is a violent way because you don't see wars bestoken as axe and hammer and shield and sword anymore.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, because sign me the fuck up.
Right? Let's start it.
Smash some skulls. And I want to. Have you seen they're doing UFC fights with medieval stuff now?
I haven't seen that. Are you for real?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. It's beyond Renaissance Fair. It's a legit league, and low-key want to start welding some metal together and putting a 6 set of.
Now my kindred, we're all supposed to be making shields.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I think that'd be so.
It's like one of our moods.
That'd be so.
I know we've been trying to do it, but our schedules have all just been so afflicted.
So would you make a more traditional round or spherical shield, or of a kind of a tear or an eye?
No, ours, because we base our kindred on pre-Christianity.
Right.
That's how I set it to be. So it would be real, the closest to the authentic, but we want it to be our kindred colors.
Wait, okay, so what are your colors?
They're like a foresty green and a black.
Tomorrow.
I'll have to send you our emblem, that I had the guy who did my Odin tattoo.
Mm-hmm.
I had him come up and paint your
sigil,
our kindred. Yeah, so
nice.
It's pretty awesome. I need to send it to you.
That'd be cool. So okay, so what's the main difference you see between death rituals and modern day? Do you feel like they're discredited by any chance, or by any means now than what we have seen in our past?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, because obviously you can't really, how I put it. I mean, we still honor. I'm not saying me, but in the modern days, it's not as hardcore. What's the word I'm looking for? They're not
vibrant.
They don't pay the yeah, they would dress them and sit. You're finding now, if you notice, they're finding Norse people who had the jewelry, the gold, all that type of stuff. We don't do that nowadays.
Yeah. So there's another podcast I listen to. It's Norse mythology, and the guy, he does a really good job, and he's like, I'm not a medieval traveling Norse pagan or a scholar, but I take what I've heard from the scholars and their interpretations, and here's what I hear, or what I feel like I know. And he did something along the lines of, I think it was in Snorri's Rosetta book, right? That only nobles were wearing jewelry of Mjolnir. And then later in early 2000s, they were finding a lot more lot more burials that even those who aren't nobles or are classified as nobles were, it's more given to them as in a death sense of their passageway of protection going from the Midgard realm to either in Folkvanger or Valhalla or Hell or wherever they end up going. And it was a gift. And I think that's the misconception nowadays, where you have to be gifted Mjolnir, where you don't exactly have to be gifted a Mjolnir for protection. It's if you don't have it, like, here, fucking take this shit with you because you're gonna fucking need it where you're going, kind of thing. And I thought that was really interesting, a take that I thought it would be less common, that a lot more Norse ancestors would just already have, but I guess it might have been something that just wasn't as easily accessible, like gold it would be today or something like that, even though like it's not on a scale of cost would be the same kind of thing, you know?
Yeah.
But I guess one of the, like, to the other thing we see is like you're not putting weapons in the caskets anymore. You're not giving them other so like to the Mjolnir, like, yeah, it's a sweet piece of jewelry, but what are they supposed to take with them to keep themselves protected or safe when they go to either wherever they go, right? Traditionally, like, we always want to die with an axe in our hand. We want to sustain the dead beyond this life, and somewhere burned in cremation fires, and others were placed carefully in graves or burial mounds, but they were always given that tool to be successful in the afterlife. But you don't see that now, and I feel like it's an injustice to the dead. But if you're if you're not burying or ritualizing that person in Norse religion, then okay, sure, but I still see it as rather disrespectful, and then not like, oh god, like, I'm gonna come fight you, but like, it's disrespectful to the dead. That's my opinion.
I mean, I agree. I agree with you. If I die, y'all better just bury me in a Mjolnir.
Burn you in ammonia?
Yeah, see,
You want like a Wicker Man kind of
burned.
death,
I
or
want to
what?
be cremated.
Yeah.
Like obviously don't cremate my Mjolnir. Don't do that. But I want to be buried with a tree.
Okay, so you want to be replanted as a tree. Okay. Yeah, I could be down with that. I would turn into like one of them thorny ash trees or whatever it is and just start like pricking people left and right. Like, fuck you, motherfucker. Take this fucking thorn in your ass.
Be a rose bush because they got those thorns.
Right. So, okay, so like you said, cremation. So like fire played a sacred role in Norse death rituals too, right? Like cremation, it wasn't seen as a form of destruction, but transformation. And the way that the Norse seen it, that the smoke carried the spirit upward, and then the ash returned the body to the cycle of the world. And we're all aware that, like, the Norse believe that we literally came from fucking ash and emblem, so ash, right? And one of the most detailed historical accounts that I could find was Ibn Fadlan. He's a 10th century Arab traveler who witnessed a Rus chieftain's funeral. And I thought it was super exciting to read this part because he described the ritual as intoxicating, and there was chanting and sacrifice, and then the burning of the ship as it set out to sail, an event structured intentionally. And it was so deeply sacred with the behaviors of the tribe that was around him, seeing their chieftain off. So you see, like, death rituals they weren't just intentional or just meaning, they were communal. Like, they involved the entire community, especially with those people that were high up in civilization in that area per se. And they didn't just show honor to the dead, but they also stabilized the living, or the tribe of those people, as much as they honored the dead. As we see now, like, people, they grieve positively with others, funerals and ceremonies and showings and what have you. But I think it'd be a little bit different if you went through such an experience of a pyre on a ship, and then watching it before your eyes go up, and then that's just literally watching the body be the last time you ever seen it. I think that'd be intense,
Yeah. Yeah. Have you heard of the one? It's called Inhuman. It's like where they place like the body facing like a direction that's tied to like their belief. They would wrap them and then place in wood coffin. That's the one I actually just learned.
Is
I wasn't
that
aware of that one.
is that part of Norse? What is it now?
It's called inhumation.
Inhumation. No.
Inhumation. And they would place the body in a grave and it was facing whatever direction that tied to their belief. And they would wrap them in like a gown or something? And
Yeah,
they
I
would
mean, I've
place
heard
them
of
in a
that,
wooden coffin.
but I haven't heard of them doing it in a position or towards a direction that's based on belief. That interests me. That's interesting.
Right. And that's why I wanted to bring it up because like I never heard of that. Like my I need to research it more, but like what do they mean by the direction that's tied to like their belief? You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Because I mean I know as vulvas and stuff before you ever like do a blot there, you do the west, east, north, and you put it that way. So I'm
Yeah.
wondering, do they mean like that type of way or just something I need to look into?
Because it can't, like, I don't think it can be tied to like the realms, like which belief you have in the
Right.
realm, because like always like because even in the realms, like that's never depicted which it's never put into a transient way where the realms are located throughout the world. Like they were all what's the word I'm looking for here? Not adjacent, but they were tangent. They were all tangent to each other. And they didn't exactly revolve around each other either. Like they had their own infinite passageways per se. So that's interesting. That's I haven't heard they would face those dead in a certain direction.
Right. So I do want to research more into that and maybe we could talk and like do an episode on that just to kind of dig into it further once we find out more information.
Yeah, or at least like plug it into like, hey, we talked about this and then like this is what go back to it real quick. But that's interesting.
Right.
Huh.
And then obviously everybody knows the ship burials, which we don't do today, obviously.
No.
I don't think they let us, but
you'd have to buy it. You'd have to do it on private land, I feel like.
Yeah, but wouldn't they still get in trouble?
I don't
know how that would work.
Oh, I mean,
sorry, my hair's a mess.
I don't know. I don't know how that would have to be looked at on a ship burial.
I don't know. Because see, I would like that, but I don't know. I connect more with nature and I would prefer the nature.
Yeah. I mean, I think it'd be cool to be buried on a fucking ship. Never found that.
It would. I mean, it would. I don't know. We need to research that too.
I think that'd be pretty fucking cool.
It's cool.
I wonder what the stipulations are. The stone ships. Okay. Yeah.
They make them out of stone.
They were usually made out of oak.
It says wood ships, then stone.
Really?
Yes, that's another one I was trying to.
I'm gonna look that up real quick.
Yeah, it says a stone ship outline.
Yeah.
What do they mean?
So, like, they would outline. It's an early burial custom. They would outline like a ship with stones. So, kind of like like a headstones kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, like it's, they started making them pretty famous and like nationalizing the stones or like calling them like rune stones. But they would like those are burial plots around like within.
No, you're saying.
Yeah.
They would do it in the ground though, right? But they would make it like a ship?
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? Like line it and then see that's where I was getting confused. I was like, I don't think they ever made a ship out of stone.
No,
stones aren't
very buoyant. Not that I remember.
They're gonna not float, they're gonna sink.
Right. So I think they're pretty famous and to find them, they're pretty famous in Scandinavia, northern Germany, and I think in the Baltic states.
Yeah.
But like you can also see them on I think it's the island of Jutland. You can find those two there, and I think they actually started to kind of call them like national monuments or historic monuments, not national monuments, but historic. So I think that's pretty cool too. Like if they're going to conserve that. Like that's a patronage to our ancestors for sure.
Yeah, I think so too. Then I also researched, they would do mounds, which is marked by, so it's like a marked, powerful, or honored dead. It either says dead or deed. So I can't read my handwriting tonight. Then it's obviously going to be the rune stones, which is marked name the dead and their deeds, which I think that's pretty cool. I don't know. I think for me, I would want that, like, somehow.
I think that'd be pretty cool.
But,
Be marked out as a rune.
right?
Yeah.
That would be cool.
That'd be pretty fucking dope.
I think so too.
Yeah, for sure.
And then, so back to like the funeral rituals, they would wash and dress the body of the kin, which obviously, like I was saying, we don't do that now. You know what I mean? Like, so.
Well, they do. We don't wash. No, they don't. Well, like everybody's expected to show up dressed to the tents, you know.
Yeah.
But like specifically, they would wash just the kin.
Exactly.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
And then we still do this today. We speak of the remembrance of this person. We drink to the dead. And then we name our ancestors aloud, very loudly, to welcome the soul.
Wasn't that
That's
just
like our
not
modern.
just isn't that just to not to just announce our ancestors, but to like say, hey, like be like, yo, this person, this person, this person, you know, these ancestors accept this kin,
Yes.
right? Be on the lookout for them and their voyage to the afterlife. And it's
basically like letting.
Good.
No, it's basically just letting your ancestors know, hey, this person's coming to you. You know, their soul is coming. Take care of them, protect that person.
Right. And yeah. To the point, it's not just invoking them to say their name, it's invoking them for their help and their safe passage.
To continue their cycle elsewhere.
Right.
Because you gotta think, like, we look at death as a cycle.
Some people do. Some people, like, they don't call it afterlife. It's just death. For us, it is an afterlife. Like, there's something to do after this, and I hope it's not going to work every fucking day. That'd be great.
It would be great.
If it's
the way I look.
if it's going to work, building ships or going to battle, like, sign me up. Like, yeah, sure.
Just let me take care of people over there, even though you really can't.
You know,
you can, but you can't be a doctor over there.
You don't know that, but you don't know that.
That's right. You really don't know. Like, it's the unknown, and that's something sometimes I fear the unknown. I'm not gonna lie, but I don't fear dying. It's because, like I said, I look at it as a cycle.
It is. I mean, you live, you eat, fuck, you die, kind of thing. I mean, that literally our purpose is to do those main things. I don't know.
Exactly.
I feel like life is pretty simple, and people complicate it by too much by their own personal endeavors.
How do you say it? I call it endeavors.
Endeavors.
Endeavor.
Their own personal gain. Like, yeah, we all want to be successful. We all want to, like, fucking have great families and shit like that. But people go beyond that to be powerful. Like, there's certain people that deserve, and like they're made to be powerful. Like, not everybody needs to have that position. Like, just be the farmer, be the nurse, be the cook, be the fucking maintenance person or whatever. Right?
Just be yourself.
Fulfill your fucking role. Like, Jesus Christ. Like, people try too hard to be fucking happy doing shit to be powerful.
Crazy.
It is. And it's a disownment to not just yourself, but your living kin and your fucking ancestors. Like, what are you teaching your kids when they see shit like that? Like, it's just, I feel like it grows that entitlement personality that you see kids have. I don't see it so much now in the most current generation, because I see a lot of young men going back to trade schools, you know, being a proactive and productive member of society instead of doing it for a gain of position in the world, but other than they're doing it because they love to do it. And I say young men because it's just the world I live in as far as the trade skills go, but I'm sure there's a plethora of young women doing the same thing too, as far as, like, they're doing the role of whatever makes them fucking happy.
Exactly.
That's the point I'm trying to make. Like, stop doing it to be fucking famous.
I wouldn't want to be famous.
I don't want to be famous either. I'm like, God, I hope this doesn't make me famous, because I don't like attention.
I don't either. Our podcast might get us famous.
I know. Here I am doing the thing getting the thing that I'm...
Podcast?
No, the fucking attention. Although I love it.
Right.
I fucking love attention, though. Just like, I love attention from afar.
I don't like it at all.
I call
don't.
bullshit.
I don't like attention. I don't like when people focus on me. I feel like uncomfortable. Like that's why I'm still trying to work through the podcast. And especially because I took a break. I didn't take a break. I've just been busy. And then coming back, it's like I'm trying to set it all, but soon we'll be doing it in person, hopefully.
Maybe one day. Oh boy.
I am. I was trying to text you and tell you. Yeah, actually, like
that's for sure. Nice.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I kind of gather that in the aura of the room that I see. How about that? Not giving away too much.
Yeah.
So cool. Very cool. So back to what we're talking. So what do we do? What are we seeing in a modern reflection? Even past like blots and stuff. Like what do we? Well, like so. Okay, you said in your kindred. Like how do you guys normally do a blot or a remembrance of life?
So like with our blot, you have where you first do the ancestors, like before you eat or anything. It's after our actual ritual that we do, and like what goes into that. Yeah. It'll all come inside or outside. Usually it's inside because we'll do that. And then we always will say an ancestor that we want to be remembered. And then we will toast. It'll go around each person, toast to that specific ancestor, and then we'll all do it. And then that's how we kind of do our ancestor, just like the ancestor part. That's what we do.
So, okay, in the past, like, in Norse mythology, though, or like in the past, let's say mythology. So when they were doing rituals, though, they were generally would pass around a bowl of sacrificial blood, right? Not just meat. And the significance, what would be the significance of passing around the bowl of blood, sacrificial blood?
Significance with that?
Yeah.
Like you would pass it around, but you would pass it around and kind of do it's trying to think of the right word. It's kind of like cleanse yourself.
Okay.
We don't do blood, obviously, but I don't even do that. I take evergreen.
You take what?
Evergreen, like on leaves.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Evergreen.
Sacred water.
Yeah.
Water is they just bless somebody that way.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Cleanse them.
The splash.
You see what I mean? You cleanse their body.
Yeah. Well, is that more for like the protection of the gods though? Or is it set on whatever is bound to happen? So like if you're going off to raid and voyage, would it be more for protection at that point? But when a ritual like a death way,
we do it before the ritual.
Okay.
So ours is more so like before you even more for like a protection, but to cleanse. So because like I've always said, you want to cleanse your body before you do anything. You cleanse and you protect. So it's both. Okay. And you kind of say something over the bowl. And I use evergreen just because I think it's very, very important in Norse as a protection herb. I'm just going to call it a herb. That's why we do that.
Why evergreen though? Like why would it be?
This is a protection herb.
Okay.
It's also for cleansing, and evergreens were known Christianity. That's where the Christmas tree came from.
Well, yeah.
No, but that was the trees they had.
Okay, I got you.
Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, so that was the domestic tree in the area, so that was sacred to them. Okay. Yeah. That makes sense.
Then like funerals, I know. I'm not quite sure if they did that for funerals. I don't know.
Okay. Well, I mean, sometimes that is the answer. That was we don't know.
Yeah, that's something I would have to research. I just know for blots, it's that specifically is what they would do.
Well, just speaking in general, like sometimes the answer is like we don't know. Like just why didn't Odin do things to change his fate? Like he could have easily killed Fenrir. Okay, well we don't know, but we do because he kept his oath to Loki to not spill his blood. But is that what the oath meant? We don't know. What is the origin of Loki and Odin's oath? We don't know. So sometimes that is the answer, is that we don't know. Like we don't know why everything happened, and
exactly.
That's okay. We don't have to have an answer for it. We're not Christians. Catholics, we don't need to know. So
I know, like if you were talking about the mead though, like we pass that around prior. We do that. Then you'll pass the mead where everyone drinks that. out of the same horn. And that's just, you do that before a ritual.
I'd be drinking. I'd be passing it to myself. Fucking, that meat is mine.
Right.
Speaking of meat,
And
I
like,
made two more gallons actually. So last
hey,
week
that's awesome.
we made a gallon of pineapple and obviously honey, and then today I made a gallon of peach. So it actually called Folkvanger nectar. So I think that's gonna be.
It's pretty cool.
Hope that one's gonna turn out pretty slick.
It's cool.
I think it's pretty slick. But so to kind of close this part out, then we could say funerals and quote unquote rituals. It's more hidden. It's all behind closed doors because you see it. They happen at funeral homes. They're not out in the open like we said. Like it'd be fucking cool to have a shit burial somewhere or just buried out in a ritual out in the woods or some shit like that. But it's all looked at in a negative aspect now. It's like, but it's not like this person lived out their cycle. They lived out their fate. They lived out what they were supposed to do. As long as they made the best choices with the time that they were given and the fate that they were given, then why is it looked at negatively? Why are we like, yeah, we're sad because this person's here to share more memories with, but we should be happy that they lived and fulfilled a life that was honorable, right? And I feel like grief is honestly, it's rushed too much anymore, and it's not always endured or cherished. And I know people specifically that haven't had the time to even just deal with the grief of losing someone that was important to them. So there's other circumstances that have happened, right? Whether it be with the family that are involved or how things took a turn for the worse per se. But I feel like today's rituals are, to say without any harshment, they're minimized or they're avoided altogether. And especially like the way we've talked in this entire episode, like they are made to be important. They're made to be remembered. They're made to be special and positive. And the Norse remind us that rituals, they don't erase pain. To make that very clear, they don't erase the pain, but the pain gives it a physical shape that we can not just visualize, but we can see, we can feel it, and we can feel that movement of energy around us. And we're beginning to see quiet returns, and I mean quiet because I've already said today, like we see that it's all hidden and done behind closed doors, but you see more personal memorials and storytelling circles and death positive movements reclaiming space for grief and meaning. And I hope that trend continues and grows because we want our dead to be remembered. And the question that to close with, and there's one more thing to say, is that not just maybe death isn't how the question isn't how we avoid death, but maybe it's how do we meet it with intention again? How do we stop fighting that is inevitable? So what are you going to do with the time that you have currently? Like, you're going to just sit here on your fucking hands and just pish posh around and cry about who's got the newest car and who's making more money than you, or just be fucking happy with what you got? If you're not doing something more than what you should be doing, then that's your problem. You're in Denver. That's something you have to deal with. And no, by no means are we saying that the Norse, we didn't worship death, but we absolutely respected it, right? But we always prepared for it, and we faced it openly, and they carry the dead forward. And we do that by doing it through ritual and through story and by having these episodes of podcasts that people just refuse to stop fucking making. Because if the fire fades, then the story fades. But regardless, like, our flesh always returns to earth. And I think there's a very specific have-em-all that relates to this entire episode and resonates. Stanzas 76 through 77. Cattle die, kin die, you yourself die. One thing I know that never dies is a reputation of one who will live. Guys, I hope this episode sparked something into you. I hope it made you see how some of your past ritual experiences could have changed, or how you want your own ritual to go. Because I definitely know how I want mine to go. I think Stevie's already said how she wants hers to go. And everybody who listens to this type of podcast, fucking be like, yo, fuckers, put me on a ship and burn my shit out to sea. You know? So if this episode hit with you, put it in your will. Put it in a fucking stone. Put it in runes. Put it in a fucking piece of papyrus paper. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. Make it fucking known. That's how you want to live well. Live well, live happy. On this episode, guys. Thank you very much. Appreciate you guys. Bye.